Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something that many of you have asked about: how to transition from being just friends with someone to potentially becoming something more. That's right, we're talking about escaping the friend zone, but not in a manipulative way. Instead, I'm going to share 5 authentic moves that can help you transform a platonic friendship into a romantic connection without risking the friendship you've already built. Before we get started, I want to clarify something important. These strategies aren't about tricking someone into liking you. They're about showcasing sides of yourself that might be hidden in purely friendly interactions. Because here's the truth: sometimes the only thing standing between friendship and romance is simply a different kind of energy and intention. So let's jump into these 5 game-changing moves. Move number 1: create strategic distance. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. When you're firmly in the friend zone, you're likely always available, always responsive, and completely predictable. While loyalty is admirable, this constant availability creates a dynamic where you're taken for granted. Your presence becomes expected rather than appreciated. There's no mystery, no anticipation, and most importantly, no space for curiosity or longing to develop. So what does strategic distance look like in practice? It's not about playing mind games or suddenly disappearing. Instead, it's about gently recalibrating your availability. Maybe you don't immediately respond to every text. Perhaps you decline some hangouts because you genuinely have other plans. When you do spend time together, you don't share every detail of your life, leaving some aspects to the imagination. For example, if you typically text back immediately, try waiting an hour or two before responding. If you usually drop everything to help them move or provide emotional support, occasionally say, "I'd really love to help, but I've got something important planned." This creates a subtle shift in the dynamic. You're still a good friend, but you're also someone with a full, interesting life outside of this friendship. One client of mine had been friends with a woman for nearly 2 years, constantly at her beck and call. When he started implementing strategic distance, mentioning new hobbies, not always being available on weekends, she suddenly started wondering what was happening in his life and who he might be spending time with. Within weeks, she was initiating more contact and suggesting one-on-one activities. This space allowed her to see him differently, not as the reliable standby, but as someone desirable with options. Move number 2: elevate your nonverbal communication. This is absolutely crucial because our bodies often communicate more powerfully than our words. In friendships, especially long-standing ones, we develop comfortable patterns of interaction: side hugs, casual high fives, keeping appropriate distance. These physical habits subconsciously reinforce the platonic nature of your relationship. To shift this dynamic, you need to consciously adjust your nonverbal cues. Start with eye contact. Friends typically make casual, intermittent eye contact during conversations. Romantic interest, however, involves more sustained, intentional eye contact. Try holding their gaze just a second longer than usual during conversations. Not in a creepy staring way, but with genuine interest and warmth. Then there's proximity. Start paying attention to how close you position yourself. When sitting together, perhaps sit slightly closer than usual. When walking side by side, let your shoulders occasionally brush. These micro-adjustments may seem insignificant, but they register subconsciously and begin shifting the energy between you. Touch is another powerful tool, but it must be used respectfully and appropriately. Transition from buddy-style shoulder punches to more deliberate forms of contact, briefly touching their arm to emphasize a point in conversation, letting a hug linger just a moment longer than usual, or offering your hand to help them out of a car. These touches should feel natural, not forced. One particularly effective technique is what I call the pause moment. During a laugh or meaningful conversation, briefly pause, make intentional eye contact, and then continue as normal. This creates a momentary intensity that hints at deeper feelings without explicitly stating them. Remember, these adjustments should be subtle and gradual. You're not dramatically changing your behavior overnight, but rather slowly introducing new energy into your interactions. This gives them time to adjust and respond to these shifts without feeling ambushed. Move number 3: Introduce playful tension. Friendly relationships are comfortable, supportive, and usually free of challenging dynamics. While that's wonderful for friendship, romantic connections thrive on a certain kind of tension, the good kind. I'm talking about the playful back and forth, the gentle teasing, the light challenges that create emotional engagement. When you're just friends, conversations typically follow safe patterns. You agree, you support, you validate. To create romantic potential, you need to introduce some playful friction. This doesn't mean being disagreeable or critical. It means creating dynamic interactions that spark emotional responses. Start by incorporating light teasing. If they share a quirky habit or preference, respond with something like, "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, and somehow it makes perfect sense for you." Deliver this with a warm smile to ensure it's received as affectionate rather than critical. Another powerful technique is playful challenging. If they make a statement, don't just nod along. Respond with, "Is that really what you think? I'm not sure I'm convinced," with a playful tone. This invites them to engage more deeply, to persuade you, to invest emotional energy in the conversation. Questions can also create tension. Instead of standard, "How was your day?" exchanges, ask unexpected questions that require thought. What's something you believed strongly 5 years ago that you think differently about now? Or, if you could master any skill overnight, what would you choose and why? These questions show that you see them as complex and interesting, not just a casual friend for surface-level chats. One of my coaching clients had been friends with someone for years, always having pleasant but forgettable conversations. When he started introducing playful debates and gentle teasing, their text exchanges suddenly went from brief check-ins to hour-long conversations. The dynamic had shifted from comfortable to compelling, and within weeks, she was initiating more contact and seeking his perspective on various topics. Move number 4, create contextual shifts. This move is about physically changing the environments and contexts in which you typically interact. Our brains strongly associate people with the settings we usually see them in. If you've established a friendship within certain contexts, maybe group hangouts, coffee shops during daylight, or activity-based outings, these settings reinforce the existing dynamic. To create new possibilities, you need to introduce new contexts that naturally evoke different feelings. Consider suggesting activities that have inherently romantic atmospheres, evening walks instead of afternoon meetups, dinner by candlelight instead of lunch at a casual cafe, or events that involve dressing up rather than your usual casual attire. Music venues, art galleries, or scenic outdoor locations can naturally evoke more emotional, reflective conversations than your usual hangout spots. These environments subtly suggest a different kind of relationship without you having to explicitly state anything. Timing matters too. Late evening interactions naturally feel more intimate than daytime activities. The transition from day to night creates a psychological shift that can help transform how they see you. If you typically meet for morning coffee, suggest an evening activity instead. Physical appearance is another contextual element. If they've only ever seen you in casual, friendly contexts, finding an opportunity to present yourself differently can be powerful. This isn't about becoming someone you're not, but rather showing dimensions of yourself that friendship alone hasn't revealed. I had a client who had been firmly in the friend zone for years. Their breakthrough came when he invited her to a formal charity event where he was volunteering. Seeing him in a suit, confidently networking with others, and in a completely different environment than their usual casual hangouts created a "who is this person" moment for her. She later admitted that evening was when she first considered him as potentially more than a friend. Move number 5, verbalize your evolution. This final move is perhaps the most direct, but it's crucial. At some point, words need to enter the equation. However, this doesn't mean suddenly confessing romantic feelings out of nowhere. Instead, it means gradually introducing language that acknowledges growth and change in how you see yourself, your life, and potentially, your relationship with them. Start by occasionally mentioning your own personal evolution. Perhaps share insights about what you want in life now versus a year ago, or how your perspective on relationships has matured. These conversations create openings without putting pressure on the other person. For example, you might say, I've been thinking a lot about what I really want in a relationship lately. I used to prioritize X, but now I realize that Y is what truly matters to me. This invites them to see you as someone with romantic depth. So subscribe for more videos.